want to point out is that if you go back in time a couple of months, Bernie Sanders was polling at maybe 6 or 7% in the state. Very few people knew Bernie Sanders' name. So a lot of progress has been made since then. Whereas before no one knew him, now his name is in every conversation. So that shows substantial progress, and that's a good thing. You know, we are kind of at a critical point, of course, with the primary being on Saturday. It's really down to the wire. You know, each candidate, Bernie and Hillary, have their core group of supporters, but there's also a lot of undecided voters, and we all know how that can go. Some folks don't make their mind up until they get in the booth. So I think that's where the focus right now is. What are the undecided voters going to do? And I think that could push things way in Hillary's favor, or it can help Bernie Sanders close the gap even further. When we think of politics, you have a lot of people who are more establishment style politicians. Bernie Sanders is not the status quo candidate. You know, he's somebody he's very bold. He thinks very ambitiously, and I think that's a good thing. You know, when we talk about change, change requires a bold vision. You know, he also points out problems that everybody talks about but nobody talks about. So what are we talking about? Campaign finances. Everyone understands and knows that there's a problem in this country, in the political system, where those with the most money, even though there are fewer of them, they often have the greatest voice. And that decisions that are made sometimes to the will of those powerful people instead of the bulk of American citizens. You know, and I think that is one very big difference between Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton. You know, I respect Hillary Clinton, I respect Bill Clinton very much. But when I look at leadership and what I think this country needs right now, I think we need somebody like Bernie who is outside of the status quo. He's not afraid to call things how he sees them. Perfect example. Okay, and there's been all this talk. Hillary and them have accused Bernie of disrespecting President Obama and things like that. Bernie Sanders respects President Obama. Bernie Sanders is friends with President Obama. Bernie Sanders actually helped draft the Affordable Care Act, which is President Obama's flagship piece of legislation. But Bernie Sanders is also an independent thinker, and he is not afraid to admit when he disagrees with anybody, even the president. When I look at leadership, that's what I look at. You don't go along just to get along.